This video is about solving absolute value equations. So if I have the absolute value equation, x plus 2 equals 7, this says to me that the distance between x and negative 2 is 7. And so what you want to do is you want to have your absolute value isolated on one side of the equal sign, and then you can make this statement. And notice that this sign is reversed. So absolute value of x plus 2 is really referring to x and negative 2. So if the distance between x and negative 2 is 7, well, that means that x could be 7 over here, or x could be 7 up here, 7 spaces away up here. So we have to solve for both possibilities. So if x could be 7 above negative 2 or 7 below negative 2, then what I need to solve is x is equal to negative 2 plus 7, or x is equal to negative 2 minus 7. And so when I simplify those, I get x equals 5 and x equals negative 9. And just to check, I'm going to plug those in. So the absolute value of 5 plus 2 is indeed equal to 7. And the absolute value of negative 9 plus 2, which is negative 7, is also equal to 7. So again, remember, isolate the absolute value. I'm just going to indicate that with the absolute value signs. And then set up these two statements that your variable is either going to be plus whatever your starting point is or minus your starting point. Let's try another one. Okay, so 5 times the absolute value of c minus 2 equals 30. Let us isolate our absolute value by dividing both sides by 5. And I will get c minus 2 is equal to 6, the absolute value, sorry. And this says to me that the distance between c and 2 on my number line is 6. So c can either be 6 above 2 or it can be 6 below 2. So looking at this visually really helps me set up the equations I need to solve. I've got c equals 2 plus 6 and c equals 2 minus 6. And so c is going to equal 8, or c will equal negative 4. And if we plug those into our original absolute value equation, they will check out. Now, one of the things we have to be careful of is checking for extraneous roots, okay? Because there is not an absolute value property of equality in solving equations. So we could be creating false solutions here. So you should always go back and check for extraneous roots. Let's take a look at one more. So here, what I've got, the absolute value of x minus 2 equals 2x minus 3, and I'm still thinking about this as distance. This says the distance between x and 2 is 2x minus 3. A little odd sounding, but we can still work it. So that means that x is equal to 2 plus 2x minus 3, and x is equal to 2 minus 2x minus 3. So let's just solve these two equations. X equals negative 1 plus 2x. So I'm going to get negative x equals negative 1 and x equals 1. And then on this side I'm going to get x equals 2 minus 2x plus 3. X equals 5 minus 2x. And so 3x is 5 and x is 5/3. Well, we have some checking to do. So here we go. So for our first one, x is equal to 1. I've got 1, the absolute value of 1 minus 2 equals 2 minus 3. And the absolute value of negative 1 equals negative 1. But we know that absolute value is always positive. And so this is not a solution because 1 does not equal negative 1. Let's try the next one. A little bit of work here. Got the absolute value of 5/3 let me give myself some more room here. The absolute value of 5/3 minus 2 equals 2 times 5/3 minus 3. So that will be the absolute value of 1 2/3 minus 2 is going to be negative 1/3 equals 10/3 minus 3, which is 9/3. So this is going to be 1/3 equals 1/3, which is indeed true. So this is not a solution, but x equals 5/3 is indeed a solution. So when you're solving absolute value equations, there's a few things you want to look for. First of all, you want to isolate your absolute value by itself on one side of the equal sign. And then you want to look for both the positive and negative distance on the number line when solving. So if you get your absolute value equation into this form, the absolute value of x plus b equals c, you can think of this as the distance between x and b is c. Therefore, x has to equal b plus c, and x has to equal b minus c. And then once you've solved these two equations, make sure you check for extraneous roots. Good luck!